one of the things I'm most proud of is our mental health department, where we provide low-cost counseling to special needs individuals and their families. During times like this is something that everyone can use.
Hey everyone, I'm Chrisa.
Coming in, zooming in, Navah Pasquitz-Asner. I'm not with Chrisa today, but I'm here.
We're being safe by having separate locations. And we want to say thanks to everyone for tuning in. It's Happy Tuesday here, and we're going to talk a lot about health and wellness and our usual topic, health and wellness check-in. And actually our topic today is
taking care of yourself. I mean, I'm not with Chrisa today because I was telling Chrisa, Facebook sends you memories, and I've had a really bad bronchitis every single year for the past 4 years. But for 2 of the 4 years, I've gotten a pneumonia, and I think that we're all under so much stress. Usually for me, my sickness corresponds with New Year's Eve because I probably overindulged, ate too much sugar, drank too much booze, whatever. But I always get sick in January, and this time it really got me. And every single COVID test that there is in the world I've taken. So thank God I didn't have COVID, but I did have a pretty serious pneumonia, bronchitis thing that, it's still lingering, and I'm struggling, but every day I get a little better. But as I say to Chrisa all the time, if you can't take care of yourself first and foremost, you're not going to be able to take care of your children. And I think I really learned the hard way, and I had to really take some time and take care of myself. And poor Matt Asner was kind of the mom and the dad for the last month.
And how stressful it is as one of the main caregivers in your family to be able to not be able to be there for your children and for your spouse, or to even maintain some type of a structure within the house, cooking, cleaning. Yeah. I mean, you've been out. This is like our first show in the new year together. Yeah. So you were out for a good while, and that stress is even on top of your sickness.
Well, I think most people can just kind of like let the mess lie where it is and not freak out over it. But, you and I have talked about childhood traumas and how there's certain people with personalities and for me, my need to constantly clean and constantly keep things orderly is very much connected to my childhood trauma, growing up in a 21-foot camper where everything was always a mess. Everything was always out of order. Yeah. My mom did the best that she could, but I think part of why I'm like continually cleaning and keeping things orderly. If I see a rug that's out of place, it really bothers me. That for me was the hardest part, because I would see the mess. It was just so hard for me to give in to my sickness and not get up and help when my beloved family, they're really the opposite of that. And they didn't care if the dishes piled up or whatever was going on. And Matt, he did the best that he could, God love him. But it was very hard for me. And it's, I'm doing better every day. Thank God. And, but it's been really difficult. And I'm going to be the first to say that we have to make our health and our well-being a priority above everything. And, these are times when, when we, our work and our uncertainty of having a job puts our health secondary. So a lot of people are going to work, and I hope they're not going to work with symptoms, because that's how we're in the position we're in. But, we have to take better care of ourselves.
Absolutely. I see there's a comment there. Do you have your glasses on? I'll let you read it.
Yeah. Carolyn, who's our friend, has said, hey, Chrisa and Navah, I did a nasal swab for COVID on January 14th. Thankfully, I tested negative. I'll tell you, Carolyn, I did 3 nasal swabs and 3 mouth swabs, and those nasal swabs are no joke. They are scary. I did one lying down where it felt like the lady was putting a spear through my, like, it feels like it's actually in your throat. It's so deep. But like you, thank God we're negative. And so it's a necessary evil that we have to do to make sure that our coworkers and, so next week I definitely am going to be seated 6 feet, but still I'm going to be seated with Chrisa.
But one of the things too is people forget, and I always hear these rumors, is that you automatically jump to the conclusion that it's COVID, but there's still the common cold, there's still the regular flu, there's still bronchitis that shows up.
That's what our friend Gary was saying that was so difficult, is that a lot of times people are, they're being misdiagnosed. Because the flu can be very serious. I mean, X amount of people die every year from the flu as well. And my condition, it seemed like just a very common thing in the beginning. And because it lingered so long and I just couldn't find the right antibiotic, it did go secondary. So, right now, so many people are terrified to go to the hospital or urgent care or whatever. But I think, this is really where you have to, how many horror stories we've heard of moms who always put themselves second, and they're the ones that end up really getting into trouble because they're so concerned about the well-being of their children, especially, special needs kids. It was, for me, the hardest part, honestly, was not being able to kiss and hug and give love to my babies, because Eddie he can't comprehend that he can't, come cuddle me.
Mm-hmm.
Until we got those really accurate tests, we had to keep him apart from me, and that was torture.
Right. And yes. And there's a follow-up here for Carolyn.
Carolyn waiting patiently to get the vaccine for COVID. Well, it's really, we were trying to get a vaccine for our 92-year-old father, and they're none to be had. And a lot of people I talked to, Chrisa, had their first dose. They have scheduled for their second dose, and then they show up and there's nothing, or they get called the day before and say, "I'm sorry, we can't accommodate you." So those people are really upset.
Yes, it's really tough. So my family member is 82, and we've been trying every day on the CDC website, and it's constantly saying no appointments available. Yeah. And so it's very frustrating, and it makes you a little scared. Like, what if I can't get it? Especially the current allowable demographic is 65 and older. Right. And so they're starting to get worried. And then there is these 4-hour waits in line or whatever. So I'm a huge Star Trek fan, and I just saw Sir Patrick Stewart post on Instagram that he drove to Dodger Stadium, and that is a car queue, and he waited 4 hours in a queue to get the shot, and his wife had videotaped it as he was getting the shot. It's literally a drive-by. His arm is out the window.
Oh, wow. You don't even have to get out of the car.
You don't have to get out of the car. And that's the Dodger Stadium drive-by. There's also in Los Angeles, there's several of those. I don't know how it's being handled other places in the country, but here it's a drive-by, or you can get out and distance and wait your turn, and the whole thing. Right. But and even, the celebrities, he had to wait in a queue to go and do that. I don't think there's any prioritization or special circumstances.
They're saying that they're putting priority with the healthcare workers first and foremost, and then the elderly. But I think there should be some leeway with the elderly. I think that I know that a lot of our first tier caregivers had gotten the first shot, and a lot of them are not being able to get the second shot. So they're very upset because they're in this kind of like, oh, wow, I've only had half the dosage, and what's now going to happen. But
to me, you have to get it within a particular time frame. Right. And I'm really glad we're on this topic because, in the autism community for a while, there was a lot, and perhaps still currently, there was a lot of talk about vaccine injury. And, I don't know specific details of the studies that were out there, but there were some studies that debunked that vaccines at a young age did not cause autism. And so how do you feel about our community? Do you think they're going to be open to these shots for
there are, it's a very hot topic. I'll say that. And, I have my own opinions. Matt has his own opinions.
Right.
In my world, I think about 50% of people are willing to do it. And I think 50% of people are not. They want to see more, more studies. They want to see what happens to this first kind of like wave of people who are taking it. They want to see if this is going to be, worthy of these new strains that are coming in and actually protect us from new strains. And if not, that, is it the thing to get this vaccine now and then have to take another one later? So I think really in the community, there's about 50% of people who are absolutely ready to do it. They'll fight you in line. And then the other 50% won't even consider it.
Yes.
And so,
perhaps that's a whole nother topic that maybe we can open up to our audience and take questions in the beginning, and maybe have, our friend Gary come on and talk about it. But there's a good friend. We have some comments.
It's an extremely sensitive topic because so many of our friends, they will really stand by their belief that their child was changed and affected and damaged in some way neurologically from vaccines. And their truth is their truth. And I believe with all my heart that they should be heard and listened to and not just discounted. My dad was a man of science, and he believed that any toxin that you give a child that's too much at once is going to be dangerous. Again, I have my own beliefs, and Matt has his, and I think that it's going to take time for people to really see what happens with this first wave, and it's all so new, and it's so unknown. And the reality is this vaccine is it's not approved for children under a certain age. So there's that concern. We're talking about older teens and adults who are either immune compromised or special needs.
It is really 50-50. I have seen a division in my community, my friends that have said, absolutely, sign me up. And then they couldn't wait to get it. And then there's other people that are like, I'm not really too concerned with that. And I know our good friend Shifra has a question as well. She's from Mitzvah Wellness. And she has a lot to say on the topic, and she's comes from a holistic place. So
what I was going to say though about
I'm talking to our producer. Hang on a second. The Mitzvah Wellness comment. Can you put that up for a second? Can you read that, Navah?
There's so much to say. Shifra says, I love this topic and I have so much to say on this topic. And that is that would be like an hour show minimum, because there is so much passion and so much, there's a lot of anger. There's a lot of, incredible, it's as black and white as Republican and Democrat. The people who believe this are so incredibly passionate about the belief that this has happened. And so to me, I don't want to create that kind of division in our community. I don't even want to talk about it, because everyone has their own right. Everyone should be able to choose what they are going to do for their particular child. Everyone knows what's best for their particular special needs child. And if we're going to open up that balagan, then we're just going to create division in our community. And I don't want that. I definitely don't want that.
Yeah. There's another comment from Shifra.
I'm on both sides, and so many valid points on both. A lot to consider, especially when it comes to our children. I agree 100%.
Yeah.
But I do think, going back to the point about your family member and my family member, I think that 80 and above should get first in line. I really do. You know what I mean? My mom was on some waiting list because she's in a care facility, so they have to go as a whole facility to get the vaccine.
Yes,
So
that's correct.
she's set up to get it, but because of this new shortage, she might be set up, but that doesn't mean she's actually going to be able to get the vaccine on that date, because all these people who are showing up as they're IHSS workers, caregivers, they're in the first tier, they're not getting their second shot. It's not there. It's not available. So there's a huge, it's a mess. I mean, it's not, somebody made a joke that if Amazon was giving out vaccines, everyone would be vaccinated in 2 days. So I don't
know. The rollout would have gone much better than it is going now. But but these are all, these are struggles. This causes stress. This is a really difficult topic. Should I or shouldn't I? And should I allow my children to be injected? Well, like you said, many different views.
Thankfully, that's not even an option, because you can't. They're not going to give kids under the age of. I think for one of them it's 16. For one of them it's 18.
Right. So one of the things that I did last week is, for me, I like knowledge and I like to research. So I attended a UCLA webinar by about 6 doctors at UCLA. Of course, it could be biased. They're a facility that's rolling out the vaccine, but I want to educate myself. So I'm really reading a lot, to really make a more of an informed decision. And so, you try to read the pros and cons from both sides.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, that's with anything. I mean, I don't take a Tylenol unless I read the side effects. And I don't think anybody, certain people we won't mention will take anything offered them. But I don't think anybody should take any medication unless they've researched it, especially a vaccine.
Right. So I'm just going to ask my producer. I'm noticing in the camera that I'm frozen.
Oh, really?
Can you see me?
That eyesight, I can't. I see an image of you, but you are still.
Yeah. So let's move on to the next question.
Okay. Well, I agree with what Shifra says here. That is a terrifying thought. She said, I'm more afraid of my child catching COVID and needing to be hospitalized because, my God, a child with autism, severe autism, who was brought into the hospital with COVID, who can't be with their loved one. I can't imagine anything scarier. That would be my biggest nightmare. They'd have to have a SWAT team hold me back.
Well, and so there's a lot of stressors. We talked earlier in the beginning of the show how stressors, they can really hijack your immune system. And perhaps towards the end of the year, I don't know what was happening, but there was a lot of stuff going on. So even just making a decision on whether or not you should take the vaccine, or you're having stress at work, or should I go out and run errands? Even when work piles up constantly and we're just totally overwhelmed with that big stack of papers on our desk, the smaller little stressors can really hijack you as well. So the 100%. Immune system gets out of whack.
You and I talked about how, we all went through this time where we had this wonderful kind of like holiday up. And then as soon as the first week in January ends, there's this letdown. And it's like, the reality of our situation was much more, it affected people in a much bigger way, I think. I see a lot of people with their holiday lights up still, trying to just like hold on to the last shred of
true. Very true.
Spirit. But I felt that definitely too, is that you had such a wonderful time. My baby was staying with us. He had to go back to college. It was just, there was so much going on that it kind of kept you on this, distracted mode. And then once you go back to your real life, you go back to work, you go back to your day in, day out. And the reality of our situation, which seems very unending. It's so, there's no certainty. And for you and I, we want to know when we can go on our trip to Hawaii, our girls' trip to Hawaii. We want to know when we can do the things and have parties and it's very difficult, and it's very easy to get into that dark place of giving into your anxiety and depression, whichever your demons you face.
Right. But I think, again, going back to whatever you need to continue your exercise, your self-care,
Yes.
eating healthy. I just got a phone call today. I did an intake with somebody where she was just saying she was drinking too much and eating too much. And that alone
That's 90% of us, isn't it?
It is. And it's not just women. It's, excuse me.
I know that. But I'll say something, Chrisa, is while we're on that subject, this is the time. January is really the time to reach out to us here at the Ed Asner Family Center and really get that extra support. If you need to speak to a therapist, if you need, you and your husband have had issues over the holidays, or your partner, or your child. There's a lot of the teens and adults in our community that are really struggling right now, more so than they've ever struggled before. And please reach out to Chrisa. We had the number on our screen before, but you can reach out to Chrisa at edasnerfamilycenter.org. And please, let us help you and support you in any way that we can.
Yes, I'm getting a lot of calls, and it's interesting. I think it's that 3-week mark into the new year. People have set a goal. I want to go see a therapist. I really want to tackle these mental health issues. And so the phone has been ringing off the hook. So, it's really awesome when people reach out. It's very important to take that step and reach out. And it typically happens, Navah, 3 weeks into January, because people are realizing, okay, I promised myself, and, I want to get to these goals. So it's interesting.
It's like we said before. I mean, you have to set realistic goals. So many people, they start the new year with all these, resolutions and all these things they're going to do in dry January and all that, which, by the way, is the best part of my sickness, is that I haven't had a drop.
You did it. A couple more days and you accomplished dry January.
No, I'm not going to do anything to jeopardize my immune system. But I mean, this was for you and I. This was our goal and our dream almost 10 years ago. Is that how can we support the special needs community with, the hardest community to break through. And as a parent myself, I know that the last thing you're thinking about as a parent, special needs parent, is yourself. And you put your children and your household and your job and your husband and everyone first. And the reality is, when mom falls apart, our whole lives were just a shambles, because, I'm the foundation of our family. Sorry, Matt. And I need to take better care of myself. And just speaking to all the other moms and parents and single dads, you guys need to take care of yourselves, and you cannot be an advocate for your child if you're going to fall apart.
That absolutely. And also, also as providers, they're talking about the first responders, and if you burn they're at their max, they're burned out, they're constantly in the trauma every day, and layer upon layer of trauma and stress. And it's not, it doesn't make for very healthy living. And also, for like myself as a psychotherapist, I really have to be mindful of what I'm doing. And am I getting my self-care so I can be grounded and in a place to be able to help others and be of service? And so otherwise you're not going to be your best.
Absolutely. Because so many people are telling you and taking from you and putting their heaviness on you, for lack of a better word, that you have to continue to fill your joy bucket. You have to continue to fill your spirit with going to the beach and getting on your bike. Because as a therapist, and even in my job where I have people calling me every day and really just wanting to vent, it's so, you can't pour from an empty cup. Yes, that's an old Chabad thing. And I have another one for you, Shifra. My dad used to say, if you don't listen to nature, nature's going to force you to listen. And what he means is, if you don't take care of yourself, if you're going to booze, drink wine and eat naughty things for New Year's Eve, nature's going to force you to listen. So the moral of our show today is really put yourself first. You're in the airplane. The gas masks come down. Not gas mask. Oxygen mask. Put yours on first before you put on your child's.
Absolutely. But also, you can include your family in wellness. You can also, if you're stressed out and you realize you need a break, and you can't leave everybody at home, take them with you. Hey, we're going to the park, or we're going bike riding, or, I know it's important if you can't get away, if you can't get some alone time, take everyone with you for a walk around the block.
Put your headphones on and listen to some meditation, some raindrops. Just, go hide and lock yourself in the bathroom. They'll be okay for 5 minutes.
And also, it's okay to ask for help. That's the other thing people don't do, or we don't stop to realize. And last week, Matt, we were talking about reaching out to people that might need to connect with somebody, or doing something nice for someone else. If someone's having a really stressful time, check in with them. And I loved, Navah, what you said last week when you trolled your husband, that one of the goals was to cook dinner for somebody, or take food to somebody's house and give somebody a break. And you were just so funny. You were like, Matt's never prepared a meal, which he said he has. So
okay, he's boiled water. He's boiled water. I'll give him that.
That's a meal.
He knows how to order food in. He's really good on the phone.
There you go.
But I just want to close with, we want to send a very special birthday wish to our friend Dan Coe, who's our sweetheart. And
yes, happy birthday, Dan.
Happy birthday, Dan, one of our squad. And a very special heavenly birthday to my beautiful mother-in-law and our producer's mommy, Nancy Lou Sykes Asner, who is not with us in body, but is always with us in spirit.
Well, we need some more angels around us.
Yeah,
so
absolutely. And next week I will be in the studio, and I'll see you all. And thank you for all your well wishes. And
yes, thanks for tuning in, everyone.
Yes.
See you next week.
The last 8 months have been incredibly difficult for everyone, and to have a small business, a nonprofit that depends on the interaction and the physicality of being around people.
Yeah.
It's a huge wall that all of a sudden appeared.
For the kids that are really used to having this social interaction, they're really struggling in the COVID kind of lockdown.
We very quickly adapted, and we created online content and virtual content that we decided at the very beginning that we wanted to make for free.
Chelsea Darnell, she runs Movie Chat. She started it at the very beginning of the pandemic, and it was a way for teens all over to connect with each other and talk about movies. I think it's super fun to have that type of outlet, because it gives me a chance to connect with the outside world a little bit,
We have kids who are able to have something to look forward to every week and really have this social interaction online with their social club. And that's been really one of our most successful things during this time.
I think that, what I see there is just a great place for people to get support and parents to get some breaks, or caretakers to get a little break.
Month after month, one of the things the parents were really saying is some regression in kids, depression, the social in-person interaction can't be compared to. So we did make the decision to totally outfit the center with COVID compliant plexiglass. And that's one of the things that we fundraise for. I mean, to be able to have these classes for the kids, it's life-changing. We have waiting lists because they're so anxious to have this in-person experience. And we're one of the only essential facilities in the Valley that does in-person classes. People are alone sometimes in their house for weeks and months with their special needs child, and that is incredibly difficult. It's not just about coming in to the center, it's also about having somebody to call, because a lot of the things that I'm doing now during the COVID times is fielding calls from parents who just want to talk and just want to vent and just need somebody to talk to. So I think what we're doing is really just creating a secondary expanded family, so everyone's part of our family.